What's going on, everybody? My name is Noah Harbuck, and this is People and Politics. And today I have a special guest, Terence Fowler Sr. How you doing,
I'm
Terence?
good, brother. How you doing today?
Good, good. Well, I've been doing a bunch of local people. I've hit our mayor. I've gotten our new county chairman on, and you are our first guest that is not from Monroe County.
Oh man, I'm honored to be that first guest, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. For real,
Good,
really
good. Well, first people will notice the giant belt.
Yes,
You
yes.
have a website.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
I'll let you tell people a little bit about
we'll
that.
we can get right into it, man. Shameless plug. Dunny Two Times is my brand, and it's, as you can see, I'm rocking some Dunny Two Time merch. I've given you and your wife some gifts,
appreciate it.
man. Definitely, and it's the home of the Trump Vance 2024 championship belt, the People's Champ. It comes in 4 different colors, as you can see. You've been able to see it at the inauguration in D.C. Pictures all around on TV, that sort of thing, social media. But it comes in 4 different colors if you want to get it. That commemorative belt, it comes in a display box, also a garment bag, so to speak, for your belt. It's a dope collectible, man. So you'll see me every time you see me. You'll see a belt.
So that's
belt.
Donny2times.com.
Donny 2 times, DONNY, the number 2 times with the S.com.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And we do the belt because you've done wrestling.
Yes, I am a professional wrestler. I have been in the industry for about 22 years at this point in time, and actually, years winding up. I'm getting ready to retire out of the actual ring. But yeah, I've been a wrestling fan since I was at the age of 2, and I moved around, start training up in Atlanta at the WWA in 2001, and got a start under Mr. Hughes and Sarge from the WCW days, and took it. I was in and out, a couple of promotions in the South and that sort of thing. Went and did some other things. I've had 3 promotions that I've owned myself. My first one was Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling, then Power Championship Wrestling, where you were able to see certain current WWE talent, like Austin Theory. He wrestled under my Power Championship Wrestling brand that I had up in Athens some years ago. And here, as of late, I opened a couple of years ago, I opened a professional wrestling training school in Albany, Georgia, the Sweat Academy, and I started Swag Championship Wrestling at the same time. So wrestling has always been, pro wrestling has always been a part of my DNA, and so I just let it flow over to my other passions and professions also. So hence the belt.
That's awesome. So we don't do just Donny 2 times. We don't do just wrestling.
No.
We're also into politics.
Big time politics. I've taken liking to politics over the last, I'll say, 8 or 9 years. I'm 41 now, and I always I knew that by the time I turned 40 that I wanted to jump into politics. I actually got started way before it was time, but everything works as it's supposed to work. But yeah, I jumped into politics some years ago. I've always been engaged in it, probably since 06. Graduated in 04 and 02. Didn't get into it like I wanted to. The knowledge of it, I wasn't knowledgeable of how politics works in our everyday lives, our civic engagement, and that sort of thing. Of course, we weren't taught that in school. So I got started a lot later, but because of me being a husband and a father and a business owner, I took to politics. But I didn't want to get full time into politics because I was in entertainment also. So I've been able to do everything I've actually wanted to do in life. I don't know a lot of people that can say that they've had a bucket list and completed that bucket list in life. At 31, I completed my first bucket list, and I mean in its entirety. So at 41, I'm trying to come up with all new things to do and dream up and that sort of thing. But while I'm doing that, I'm super passionate about politics and trying to make my moves within and show how good of a brilliant mind I am, strategically and through logistics and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you learn something new every time.
Every time, every single race, every single day. If you're studying, you're gonna learn. It's a lot of information out there, and that's what I pride myself on telling a lot of cats, man. Just research. We can talk about politics all day long. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Noah's word for it. Go look it up for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of opportunity out there. I'm super excited about the possibilities, especially these days.
Well, we met because I work at a State Farm office.
Yes.
And you came and were promoting one of your wrestling events that was happening in Monroe County at the rec department.
Yep.
And then you noticed, you saw me online. We became friends online, and you saw that I was running for state house.
Yes.
And you reached back out to me, and that's when we started talking a little bit more about politics. And you said you were helping another state race.
Yes, I've ran a campaign manager. I do. Get Active Strategies is a political strategy company that I started about 6 years ago, and so at this point in time, I've ran about 5 campaigns. At that time when we spoke, I was running state race House District 153. Brenda Battle being the candidate at that time down in Albany, Georgia, Dougherty County. I was also consulting for a Dougherty County School Board candidate also at the time that we spoke. Previously, I've ran a couple of campaigns for Commissioner Jalen Johnson. He won down in our hometown in Albany, Georgia, campaign manager for him. Another candidate, Republican candidate down in Albany, Georgia that ran, I helped him twice on his candidacy. But, you know, sometimes, and I'm just a straight shooter, sometimes you just gotta have the right candidate, and they gotta understand when they're not it. So that was that on him. But I've and on top of that, Get Active Strategy started as a very grassroots organization to get out and do GTOV campaigns for different companies, subcontracting and doing that sort of thing. So I've traveled the country at this point in time with Get Active Strategies. A number of people that work with me, we've traveled over the country to do door knocking campaigns, ballot access campaigns, signatures campaigns, all over the country at this point in time. I prided myself at in a 5-month span, me just getting started, and I had I'm gonna say 10-man crew. Excuse me, I'm gonna say 10-man crew, but it was more like a 7-8 man crew. We were able to knock over 55,000 doors in under a couple of months, literally, because we were just adamant about trying to get the work done. So, that's just a little overview thus far of what I do as far as in politics. It's been a lot more, hopefully a lot more coming.
And in our state races, door knocking still a huge part of the strategy.
Absolutely crucial. Absolutely, especially in Georgia. I mean, and I'm going to talk specifically about Georgia because, of course, that's our heart. That's where we are. These 537 cities and 159 counties are where my heart lies, and trying to do what's best for Georgia as a whole. And so, it's getting out, doing grassroots town hall type, situations, sitting down, talking about, we call them kitchen table topics. That's still essential and crucial these days. And so I'm actually working on a situation right now where I'm going to present a couple of events called, community conversations. I'm big on conversations. Just like we're having. It's not about me trying to convince nor campaign to anyone about anything.
Yeah.
I conversate with people about my experiences. You take from it what you may. If there's nothing, it's cool. It doesn't offend me. But I think it's more important for us to have conversations. Conversations rule the nations, and we don't practice that enough at this point in time. And that's a way to simplify a lot of the divisiveness that's going on in our country and specifically in our state. I don't think we have a big, a big area that divides us. I think it's simple as conversation. So, I'm real big on that.
Yeah, the only divider you ever see is just Republican and Democrat, and that's pushed by national media.
National media, definitely the enemy. And so I'm real big on trying to make sure, we bringing everybody to the table. I have it's always been for years. It's been hard for me to say. A lot of people going to feel some type of way about this, but I can explain it. It's been hard for me to title myself a D or R because of how divisive it was at that point, even to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm about, in this space, it's about the people, right? I'm I'm not a party specific type of person. I've never been. I got into politics once I understood how important politics were in my life. I approached it from an independent perspective. I was an independent, registered independent in 2006. So that was right before the Barack Obama election, because at that point I started to understand how national media and propaganda works when it comes to politics. And I didn't want to get caught up in the I want to vote for him just because he was black thing, which again, when I decided to do it, and I voted for Barack twice, when I decided to do it, at the end of the day, me not understanding politics a lot, that's exactly why I did it. But me getting into it after that and learning what works for me, what happens to my community based off of these, those things, and how I'm looking at it, and kind of gathering that information, stirred me to understanding that my life was more of a conservative way of living. And I think a lot of our community, are conservatives. If you come up in the church, I'm from Albany, Georgia. We stayed in church all day long. Our parents, mom, pops in the crib, they got jobs. Like, that's the base of conservatism. Like, the base is family, church, family, God, family. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, I started to see that I leaned more towards the conservative side, but I was just hesitant about saying, hey, man, I'm a Republican, because I didn't understand politically what that would mean for me personally. So I decided that I have to approach politics from a very personal perspective, and it is a one-of-one perspective. Like, I can have conversations, like-minded conversations with individuals, but I have to be cool and stern on where I stand, and just move like that. So I eventually got to the point where I was cool with picking a side and going Republican, and making sure I'm trying to fight for those conservative and Republican values as much as possible.
Yeah, and I was raised in a conservative family and went to church every Sunday.
For sure.
But would you say, and this is kind of what I've seen, is when Obama was president, you said you voted for him twice.
Yep.
That was about when the digital age really started getting going.
Yep.
And you don't have to start relying on what you see on TV anymore.
Yeah.
You can search it on your phone. You got Google on your phone. People can access things, and that's why I love X so much.
Yeah.
Is because you can get any kind of information you want. It may be false, but you have to trust yourself to believe what is true, what is false.
Absolutely.
But if you can see something with your own eyes, somebody posts a video of something and it's not in AI, AI is coming out now. They're making people say whatever they want.
Whatever.
And you can kind of depict that right now. It's just going to get even better down the road.
Yeah,
but
definitely is.
But during that digital age, you are able to see with your own eyes and come up with your own opinion rather than sitting and watching the news media.
Yeah.
You think that opened your eyes a little bit? Or?
Well, actually, before, just like you said, we were at the precipice of where social media was starting to move around, and you can have access to a lot of things that we hadn't seen back in the past. I kind of knew. I remember having a conversation with myself. Is like, one thing I knew is I was tired of doing it politically because I'm black. I want to stay on this side, the Democratic side. I only want to listen to this side because that's what I grew up on. When my introduction to politics was in church, because Sanford Bishop used to come to our church every 4 years, and I was literally born in church, literally. So I saw him from a jit, infant, literally, until I was maybe 17, 18 years old. And so that was the introduction to it. And so I kind of just was going to flow with what was the norm without asking any questions. But I don't remember it was one thing that happened, but me sitting down, having this conversation with myself and saying, I'm not going to vote specifically because he's just black. I want to put something happened. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I can remember having that conversation with myself and like, I'm not going to be caught up in the just being black situation. Like, I paid attention to the campaign and that sort of thing, and I didn't get caught up in just that. I thought he was the best candidate both times. I definitely could never vote for Hillary Clinton when she ran the second time. But, I thought he was the best candidate at that time. Of course, I have some, gripes about any president, all presidents. Like, I with President Trump. I mean, I don't rock with every single thing that he does. Like, of course,
and you shouldn't rock.
And
with
you
everything.
shouldn't rock. Like, it has to be some type of line. So, overall, you support these people, and that's what I did with Barack Obama. And I try to tell cats, man, it's not anything just specific to me, but my conversation about why I supported and how I rock with and can say that Barack Obama was a good president, and the same thing for Trump. Like, cats don't understand because I experienced it and I do it, and I've experienced it firsthand. I didn't experience it through the media. I've had my opportunity to experience them firsthand. Like, maybe Barack, I didn't get a chance to work with Barack Obama, unfortunately, at that time. To try to get a better situation. But I've had a chance to work up under President Trump and deal with Republicans and experience these things at these rallies and that sort of thing. And I learned that, it's a lot of propaganda.
Well, like, one thing Obama did very well was, I remember the iconic photo, the red, white, and blue photo of him, and it said hope.
Yeah.
Now it just seems like Democrats are only trying to scare the crap out of
That's
everybody.
Fear.
Exactly.
Fear.
Now it should say fear at the bottom of their presidential candidate.
That's it. That's exactly what they ran out of ways to lie, and we're at a point where everything is so transparent that you can't get away with as many lies as you used to. Just take what we're looking at right now with Doge. It's like, and I try to tell people it wasn't used the exact same way, but you got to think, like, Barack Obama started. He had the same type of situation with the digital service agency. It just didn't operate the same way. If you go back a little further to Bill Clinton, the Rego operation was the same type of thing, but they didn't use it as though it could be used. Now you're seeing, and I posted this the other day on social media, now you're just seeing a real president, do presidential stuff when he can. And I think it's absolutely important that we do it at this point in time. It is going to be, and I tell cats this, you got to learn this, and this is where you put your emotions to the side. There will be some collateral damage. It just comes with it.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? It's not that it's heartless, unthought of, but it's for the greater good.
Yeah, and he's going to make mistakes.
Yeah, and
everything he does is not going to be perfect.
It ain't going to be perfect. It's not going to work as though they thought it is, but what's going on right now is what needs to happen. So, but we're seeing
Doge is. I have those the X account for Doge.
Yeah.
Notifications popping up on my phone. So today I see one where they're sending $10 million to another country. Well, they actually put a list of things.
Yeah, I saw it.
And just sending so much money to these other countries that doesn't help people in America. There'd be no way.
Not at all.
It would help us here.
Not at all.
And what I think about is, if we're sending all this money to different countries, why don't we spend that on mental health, our homeless here, our below our poverty line here? Why wouldn't you use that there?
That is a problem. And one of the things I think that I told people why I supported Trump, didn't vote for him the first time, but I got on this train because I watched him and understood the America first direction that he was going. I'm looking at everything that's shipping away from this country is causing a downpour in jobs, job opportunities. And I'm talking, again, I only talk from experience. I had a conversation with somebody 2 days ago about these ghost job situations here in the country. But you were watching jobs leave, opportunity leave, everything. I remember being made in the USA in a few of the things when I was coming up. You didn't see that anymore. I didn't understand when I used to see it as a jit, how important made in America was, right? I had no clue. But again, now me paying attention and me being, experiencing and working in politics and nonprofit, the private sector, the public sector, I understand what that means. I've been a Trump supporter. First of all, I liked Donald Trump before he ever got into politics. I never had a problem with Donald Trump at all. Never. Again, me being 41, I wasn't old enough to be back in those days when everything happened back in the day in New York. Regardless, he's been forgiven clearly from that up in the 90s because everybody was rocking. Again, I never had a problem with him, but I got on that bandwagon when I really start understanding he was on that American First situation, because we have all of this money being and I don't see. I get it. They're not educated. Yeah. They're more emotional than educated, but I just can't understand if you can't see the writing on the wall from the other side. Yeah. And let me say this though. Let me say this. There's some Republicans that need to be outed too for things that they're doing also, and they will be. But right now, we're just talking about departments as a whole and where money as astronomical amounts were going as a whole. It makes no sense. We have a number of things here in this country. A lot of our veterans, homeless on the streets, dealing with mental health, citizens dealing with mental health, homelessness, everything. Inflation is crazy. The amount of money, and for the reasons that it was going to some of these places, is crazy. Yeah. So I really got on the Trump train when I started understanding the America First situation, and that's what Doge is doing right now. It's showing you where the people that have been running our country have not been thinking from an America First perspective. Yeah. It's everybody else first. Listen, I'm not oblivious or have a lack of empathy for other countries and their long suffering and the things that they're going through. I'm not oblivious to that. I'm not shooting it down or anything. But what I am saying is I'm more concerned with things going on this American soil and the people and how they're living and how we're living as American citizens than I am other countries, allies or not. Yeah. America first.
Absolutely.
America first.
So we're talking about Doge. It amazes me to see what the difference is of Donald Trump being elected the first time and being elected the second time. And he actually admitted, I forgot where I saw it, but he actually admitted he didn't know who to hire, who to hire for these higher up positions. Yes. And that's why I think that's why I'm glad he lost the second time, because of this time when he ran and won, he knew exactly who he wanted in these positions. Yep. Yes, they are loyal to him. Yes, but you have to have loyalty because you have to have teamwork.
That's what's supposed to happen. I be seeing cats saying this on all the liberal media stations and social media. Well, they're loyal to Donald Trump. Well, do you not expect them supposed to listen? So everybody that lied for Joe Biden about his mental capacity and him being able to complete were loyal to him to a fault, where they went on national TV, in national publications, on social media, in public places, lying to us. We seeing it. Yeah. But they lied to us because of their loyalty. But now you're trying to tell us that loyalty to Trump is some type of cultist behavior. It's ridiculous, man. It's really ridiculous. I liked, one of my biggest things, it was two things I had a big problem with. Again, small things here and there. Two big problems. It might not be big to somebody else or small to somebody else. Two things. I did not see Donald Trump drain the swamp like he said he was going to do the first time around. And he did not release the JFK files the first time around like he said he was going to do. Those were the two things specifically that So I started to wonder if Donald Trump was still, if he cared for real to drain the swamp, because he had opportunity. Yeah. But me looking, learning myself, and now listening, and him putting it together and putting the team together, he just didn't know. Washington is a whole nother beast.
Absolutely.
And the presidency, I couldn't imagine, but it's a whole nother beast. And people been in these areas forever. You don't know because you're not a Washington, long-term Washington guy in politics. Like, so you don't know. And he literally didn't know. As much as we want, and this is something that I'm having to deal with right now, as much as we want to control every single thing and every single aspect in our lives, professionally and personally, we can't. He did not know that he had Jezebels and Judases on the team. This time around, he's building the Avengers. You hear me?
Yeah,
Do you hear me?
He's vetted them.
He's vetted them. He's putting these people in the position that they need to be in, and they have an agenda that they're sticking to. And I love the fact that they're sticking beside the president 100%. I love it.
Yeah, and we get something new every day.
Every single day. I can't wait. Listen, you never know what's gonna happen. Like when we get through with all the confirmations, imagine how much stuff is getting ready. Because we still, as fast as it's moving, good confirmation coming through and that sort of thing. But we're still kind of far away from all the confirmations being over and people actually getting in these positions and start executing, the Trump administration's plan. And so I'm excited to see what's happening. I'm talking about all the way around. It's not about Dems or Republicans. It's really about the people. And I've experienced that, and I like to see that. Like, they don't understand, of course, like I said, collateral damage is a part of this, being the president of the United States. You're not going to please everybody. There are going to be some decisions that affect people in certain ways that you didn't intend to, but it's a part of the game. Yeah. So everything that's happening now and the moves and the emotions that's going along with it, like, it's up in the air. It feels good. It will be a little simmer down time at some point in time. But, everybody is not going to like it. I'm hearing a lot of cats, that's lost their jobs at these places. I have no doubt that an opportunity will permit itself for them to redeem themselves if they are redeemable, if they want to do it. But right now, our president has to get a rap. We're talking about inflation, and people are not thinking about this when they're thinking about what they're uncovering. Our excessive spending is a part of inflation. All of our departments spending money here. He's getting a noose around all this excessive spending and showing you in that part how we doing this, why we're spending that. These are small percentages, of course, in different departments that's going to, come down, bring everything down collectively at some point. But you'll start seeing different things pretty soon about how us spending here and saving there works better for the American people and our pockets. You know what I'm saying? Even with the terror situation, we haven't even gotten off into it good enough for us. I understand the fear of it. I absolutely understand the fear. Again, a part of putting the tariffs on this, on everything that we've been getting tariffed on, is the fact that it trickles down to the American people. But the thing about the narratives, you got to make sure you understand the direction the Trump administration is going in. Everything that they're doing collectively will get things back to a surplus for us as the American people. The tariffs, if it does hit us immediately, in the end, the elimination of the IRS, the creation of the ERS, like, these are things where it's gonna balance out. You got to remember, this is one of the best businessmen in this country. He's going to be able to balance out for the American people. That's where he's going. But it looks ugly at some point. It feels ugly and bad at certain points. But overall, it's for the greater good of the country.
And Democrats are just, it's a comedy show.
They definitely don't know what to do. I said this 4 years ago. That was the last time that the Dems will have the presidency for the foreseeable future. And the way that things have played out at this point in time, and they're not, it start with yourself. You just got to admit you lost. And how you lost, go amongst yourselves, figure that out, talk about it, and we get back out and we start moving in another direction. Harping on this loss, this is the epitome of a sore loser. Listen, y'all lost. And I hate to see people be like, well, you see what Donald Trump doing now? We told y'all ain't told us nothing, man. We getting exactly what we voted for. You feel me?
Yeah.
I'm not tripping about nothing I see Donald Trump doing because I voted for Donald Trump to be our commander-in-chief, a real commander-in-chief. I may not agree with everything that he's doing, but I do know and feel that he's doing it for the American people. I feel like this is America First agenda and an America First president, and he's fighting for the people more than I've seen any president in my history, in my future, in my past. I haven't seen it, even including him as 45. This 47, oh, he different.
This is different.
He different.
He like we said. I think it comes down to he knows who he needs to have under him.
He knows, and I also want to say that when you heard things on the campaign trail, like he was your retribution, he didn't mean, in my opinion, I do not feel he means he will get the payback for you personally. How he operates as the president after beating all of these malicious, false charges and everything will be the retribution you need to see. It's not through side hustle. It's not the same direction as Joe Biden taking and weaponizing the justice system against one of his political opponents. It's not that. Retribution will be because I told y'all that they were setting me up, and now it's gonna come out what happened, and you will see through all of the legal proper channels that they were wrong. Yeah. And that's exactly what's going on right now, man. We having a time. I can't wait till a lot of, it's a lot of other coins to drop, a whole bunch of them.
So let's go down to a little bit more local.
Cool.
You were talking about you saw Sanford Bishop come to a lot of your church services.
Yes.
Do you think there's anybody? He's older now, so he probably won't run soon. But
hopefully he won't run the next election.
Do you think there's anybody that could a Republican that could win that seat?
Okay, so I'm gonna put my political strategy hat on at this point in time, and I'm real raw with this. Like, when it comes to strategy, specifically in the South, there is an opportunity for a Republican to beat Sanford Bishop. Now, pretty sure I'm not anticipating Sanford Bishop running a re-election campaign this time because he is of his age.
I heard he's got somebody picked out.
Definitely, I definitely his number 2 man is who I'm assuming. I can't the name escapes me at this moment, but his number 2 is who I'm assuming that he's gonna set up for a succession run. The Republican Party, it is a opportunity in the South more than ever before right now to go into Democratic stronghold areas like the 2nd Congressional District, which Sanford Bishop is the congressman for, which includes Albany and Dougherty County and those surrounding areas. The 13th State District, where Senator Freddie Powell Sims is the state senator. We have in that area, they've been a Democratic stronghold for over 40 years. It's gotten us nowhere. And I'm talking about from the local perspective, it's gotten us nowhere. So there's an opportunity, especially based off of the results of the general election this past year. There's an opportunity for the Republican Party to introduce a candidate to this race that can win. The problem is they have to listen. The old guard approach to candidacy is not it. There are a number of candidates out. Jeremy Hunt, cool dude, everything. He was not the right candidate for us. You're not going to be able to, no disrespect to Jeremy Hunt, I am using this just as an example. I'm not talking about you specifically, but I'm using the situation. You cannot drop a token black dude in the hood and expect that the hood is going to gravitate to a token black guy. Bottom line, I can tell you, I could beat Sanford Bishop if I ran. I'm not a front-facing person, though. That's the problem. I'm not a front-facing person because fortunately for me, I guess unfortunately for everybody else, I'm gonna always say what I want to say, just like President Trump.
Yeah.
But I understand the political game, especially in the South, it can't be like that. So that's why I haven't put myself up there. But just so everybody know, if there is someone that wants Terence Fowler to run in an election, I'm open to it. I'm just gonna have to get your support, and I understand what support means.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to have a real black cat from the area that's young and conservative and can relate to the area. That's what it is. We just had Wayne Johnson. Wayne Johnson probably ran one of the most expensive second congressional races ever. The things that Wayne was doing, the money that he was spending, I hats off to Wayne, hats off to Vivian Childs, advising the whole team. It was amazing. But I knew from the beginning, Wayne was not going to be a candidate that can beat Sanford Bishop. You have to have a swag to beat Sanford Bishop because he has that swag. Regardless if you know or understand it or believe it or not, he has that swag that gives him connections on both sides of the aisle. So if you don't have a young conservative that can come in and have that same type of language on both sides of the aisle and not just one-sided, you're not going to. Anybody that comes into the 2nd Congressional District with a national narrative and messaging, you're going to lose. You have to be more local and grassroots with your approach when it comes to a campaign. As much as I rock with Trump, you have to, from a political strategy perspective, on a local level, you got to stay away from national politics, deal on your local kitchen table issues. Wayne didn't do it enough, but he would never have been able to win. No disrespect to Wayne Johnson again, because he just didn't have the swag. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
The same thing with the state senator seat with Freddie Powell Sims. These cats aren't running races. They're not running campaigns. You just need somebody in there that knows what they're talking about, serious about getting some things moving, can show you a little work that they've done before, and they got that swag. You can beat these cats. They've been in there 38 years.
Yeah.
You have to have new. I'm cool with. I posted on my Twitter the other day. My R today stands for retiring.
Yeah.
I don't care if they Republicans, Democrats, whatever. If you old, baby, respectfully, it's time to retire. And so that's what I'm trying to work on. Again, I would hope that, some cats reach out to me and let's try to, put together some primary candidates that could make some moves, because we have an opportunity that I think we have to jump on. If we want to steal a couple of seats here in the state of Georgia, which I think would really show Georgia being, it's always been a red state. Let me. It's been that for a minute, and even though we had the purple tinge they say we had, it's still a red state. But we can make sure we solidify our state, especially with a new governor coming up, with a couple of seats they weren't expected. The state party, once they do their analytics on the area, they say, well, shoot, we can't win it, so we're not going to support the candidate, that sort of thing. And I think that mentality is the reason why, again, these areas have had these Democratic strongholds for forever, because instead of you vetting and putting resources and that money behind a candidate, you do analytics in the beginning, not really knowing it. Y'all just get numbers off of this, that, and the third. It's not a real hands-on experience. You just let it go by. We have opportunities this year.
So the House district that I ran for, 145, it actually took up part of congressional district 2. So I had 2 districts. Okay. I had 8 and 2. We're in 8 right now. Where I live, I vote for Austin Scott.
Okay.
And but Wayne, I think he either lives in Macon or lives close by. He would always be at those meetings, so I got to get to know Wayne a little bit. And I learned that the 2nd congressional district in Georgia is the poorest district.
Yes.
It's filled with farmers,
Yes.
Republican conservative farmers that love Sanford Bishop.
Yep. Yep.
And I mean, it's just amazing to me that somebody can be in there for, what will it be, 40 years?
Yeah, almost. And this is the thing. This is where some of the responsibility, falls on the Republicans in this area. Like, you have to want to get rid of the status quo. Like, again, I tell cats, y'all really don't understand how much of theatrics are going on in politics when it comes on a national level. When you see these cats from up in Washington on CNN, Fox, Newsmax, whatever, every day, they're putting on the show. But they, in the background, they're cool. They having drinks and everything. And so, like you just said, a lot of people don't understand. Sanford Bishop has a lot of Republican support in the 2nd congressional district. And why is it not enough support for the other candidates that have come from the Republican side to get them over the hump? Because in the district, active voters should be Republican, no ifs, ands, no buts.
Yeah.
So why are we not able to get over the hump? Because we lack candidates with swag.
Yeah.
And
we had somebody that helped me with my campaign. He didn't live in my district, but he contributed, and I was asking him about the other races or where he lived, and he said he was going to vote for the Democrat because she's been in there for a long time, and that he likes her. I mean, you get complacent and you get to know the person that is your representative for a long time, and Republicans vote for Democrats when it comes to that, and unless that Democrat decides not to run anymore.
Right. And so they already have this and cats don't understand, like, why are they still in there? How can they still be in? Because they keep voting for it, and it ain't just their team voting for them, their team. I know a lot of these races end up, when it comes locally, it's nonpartisan. But again, these are the issues that we're having because we lack representation that can connect in a new way. Just like President Trump and his whole campaign, like, we have to have more connectability through our candidates and not through the establishment way of trying to go out and get them in. Like the little meetings and everything that be happening, from a state perspective, when you're getting ready to run for specific things. Those types of meetings, like, we got to start having some more real cats in there that's going to put in some real thought into what's going on and not just going with the old guard, which, I have to say, the old guard, we got to get them out. I don't want to call no specific names, but the old guard is a problem.
Do you think so? That's why I've always been a fan of term limits, especially for our U.S.
Yes, U.S. term.
Up in D.C. Because you see these people that I don't have the opportunity to vote for, but that live in a different state, or, I mean, even Sanford Bishop been in there for almost 40 years.
Yes.
And you just wish something would be different, but it's not. And the people that are in there for 40 years, 40, 50, 60 years, like Joe Biden, they're not going to vote to term themselves out.
Nah, they definitely not finna vote and say, just get me out of here in 2 years. Get me out of here in 6 years. Nah. But term limits are, I think at this point, they're essential. Like, I think all levels, like, I don't think the justices should be allowed to have lifetime appointments as Supreme Court justices. Like, everybody has to have some type of term limit, man. Like, everything has to turn. It has to progress. It has to evolve. Having the same people, man. I'm looking up in Washington. My God, do you know more than half of the cats that we were watching on TV, bro, they all 75 plus.
There's thousands of people in that district.
75.
Hundreds of people that are better candidates than the people that are in there.
Way better. So I'm just like, man, come on, man. We got to do something. Not respectfully. Man, listen. It's time for Mitch to go. It ain't got nothing to do with RFK vote. Listen, it ain't got nothing to do with the RFK vote. Mitch, it's time for you to go. Pelosi, it's time for you to go. Schumer, it's time for y'all to go. You got a lot of them up there that just, I mean, did you not hear the story about the state senator that was in the nursing home for 60 days? They hadn't seen her. She hadn't shown up.
Yeah.
She's in. How do you all not know? But y'all got a problem with Doge. She's still getting paid. Now, this is not a knock on her because she can't control that she had dementia. That's what they said happened. She ended up having, a case of dementia that kind of jumped on her real quick. So this is not an attack on her, but this is an attack on the oversight or the lack thereof from up there.
Yeah.
These are things that we can't. Are you serious? We got 60 days. Y'all ain't have. So how things got voted on? Like the votes couldn't be as transparent as y'all say, or
gone.
She gone. Yeah.
And the people in that district are not being represented
At all.
Or they're being represented by the other state senator.
Yeah.
But let's say you have a Republican Democrat, it's not a good look.
Man, it's terrible.
And I mean, one thing you talked about the governor's race, because I hate that's when you start hating that we have term limits, because I think Governor Kemp's been our best governor in forever.
I definitely could see that. I've liked Kemp as governor. You know what I'm saying? I've definitely liked Kemp as governor. I guess, like I said, I know it's a personal problem or whatever, but Kemp is a part of the old guard. And I'm cool with the fact that he's on the way out. My problem is going to be who the successor may be. I don't have personal issues with anybody. I'm talking about, party positioning and all of that goes along with it. It's going to be a crazy gubernatorial race. I can't wait to see who all jumps into it. We know Chris Carr has already jumped into it.
Well, Bert's running.
Yeah, Bert's going to definitely run. I'm hoping, real talk, Colton Moore jumps in, because he's something outside of the norm. It wasn't, and how he was handled under the Gold Dome a month or so ago, I think is very, very disrespectful. And I'm glad we transitioned to this because it goes back to why I never wanted to put a DRR beside my name, because what Joe Burns did to Colton Moore that day or last year when it started and then had him arrested, it was unconstitutional, and it frowns on the very argument of freedom of speech, regardless if you like it or not. And again, I was advising one of my clients in a race. They advised me that they had a citizen that used to, make statements to them publicly, not aggressively, social media wise and all of this. They just didn't agree. The candidate didn't agree with what the lady was saying, but the lady would state her position. Never did anything egregious, aggressive, or anything. It was just disliked by that potential candidate, let me say. And they were a Republican. They wanted to find a way to press charges on this citizen that was speaking their mind on issues that they had the right to speak on.
Yeah.
That shines on the Republican Party stance on, freedom of speech. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you want me locked up because I'm opening my mouth because you don't agree with what I'm saying? You want to disrespect me? And again, it goes back to the Joe Barnes. He didn't like the statement that Senator Moore made about David Rush. How I say his last name? Rushton. I think is right, but he didn't like the statements that he made of him. He took it personal, and then unconstitutionally banned him from the floor. And at that time, it was a joint session, so he was constitutionally bound. Senator Moore was constitutionally bound to be in those chambers at that same time. But Joe Burns, Mr. Burns, doubled down and sent the letter to him the day before or the 2 days before, reinforcing the fact that you're not welcome on this floor unconstitutionally. I think he needs to resign or be voted out again. it's hard because we do have infighting. There's always going to be some type of infighting. But I think the reason why it was hard for me to put an R for so long is because look at what you're doing. You're being a hypocrite on the stance of this party as a whole, and mostly of what I've heard since I've been experiencing the Republican Party for the last 7 or 8 years, freedom of speech. And so, I think it's a lot of musical chairs in Georgia, man. I know I'm amped up to help knock somebody out. You know what I'm saying? To get somebody in that governor chair. I mean, me personally, like I said, I hope I would see Colton as a young person that, wasn't intended, never talked about, see if we could get some new energy behind him. But I really like Burt Jones.
Yeah.
I really like Burt.
See, we've gone to church with Burt for a long time.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, Bert's got the finances.
Yeah.
He can get it done, and
just being from that
and backing Trump, and
yeah.
I mean, it's a strategy, but he's a Trump loyalist, and
him being from, he had a town hall over in Union City a couple of weeks ago where I was able to go and attend and sit down and listen to him more in person. But him being from a small city like Jackson, Georgia,
it's where my wife's from.
Oh,
shout out.
So him being from a small city, me being from a small city in Albany, Georgia, and learning and seeing how he's positioning himself, I really feel like he's what's best for Georgia. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you being able to operate at the level of transparency and success that he's been able to as lieutenant governor, I think that's super, super important, and I'm really rocking with him. Really.
What I love is that you can put 5 names on that ballot, and I would like all 5 names.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so much talent in Georgia that we should be able to hold all these seats, and these people, they want to run for higher seats.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we need y'all in those seats that you're in now. But like I said, there's talent even in those seats.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of talent, man. A whole bunch of talent here in Georgia. And I hope that we're able to tap into this new talent also, this younger talent and everything. I'm excited to see where we're going here in Georgia this year, man. We got all seats up, all main heavy-hitter seats up. Lieutenant governor will be up, the governor, secretary of state. You got the Ossaw seat.
And all those people, all the people that are already in those higher up seats want to step up.
Going to go higher.
So they're going to step out of those races, and then somebody else is going to just step back into those, and there's just going to be. I mean, the Republican primary is going to be insane.
It's going to be crazy, and I hope, again, strategically, I hope the GOP, the Georgia GOP, really, really sits down and take a different type of poll to see how they want to approach this. We can't miss this opportunity to really, really unify and sew up Georgia as a red state if we don't put the right product out.
Yeah.
It's important for us to ride the wave that is out there right now. This wave that they talked about in 2022 that was going to come, it happened in 2024. And it's an opportunity that, I think every Republican district has to take advantage of. Like, you have to look at your approach to elections and touching the citizens from a different perspective than what you have done in the past. And so it's an opportunity for us to sew it up, man. I just hope that we could get past all the rigmarole that's coming too, because it is going to be some pieces falling and moving around and some things that's going to look a little crazy in a little while. But we need to approach these issues, handle them, and make sure we're in position to come out with some unheard of or unthought of victories in 2026.
And I mean, you were about to say something about John Ossoff's seats.
Oh yeah, John Ossoff's seat is up, and they're saying Kemp will hit. What you think?
So, Kemp's our best. I haven't seen any other names that I think could beat John.
Yeah.
Other than Governor Kemp.
Me too.
And that was proven this week to me by a poll that Bluestein put out. the AJC guy,
Mm-hmm.
and it showed 3 different polls: one with John running against Kemp, one with John running against Marjorie Taylor Greene, and one with John running against Buddy Carter, the representative. And Kemp was the only one that was ahead in the polling, and it wasn't. I mean, it was. He had 51%.
Right.
It wasn't a huge
Right.
gap,
Right.
but Marjorie Taylor Greene and Buddy Carter, they both. I mean, they were down 10 to more than 10 points on that poll, I believe.
Yeah.
And like I said, Kemp's the only person that could beat John, and I mean, I get why he hasn't announced why he's running yet.
Of course. Yeah.
But he's our only hope.
Period. Because I told, again, from a strategic perspective, a few years ago when Ossoff was running, in my opinion, Ossoff was the Democratic Party new baby JFK.
Yeah.
That they wanted to bring up through the ranks here in Georgia, especially at that time when him and Warnock were running, you know, with the governor's race at that point and how important it was. Because I saw that poll this week also, and now, you know, also hearing that they're not exactly sure if Ossoff is even going to run, because at this point, based on me saying some years ago that I think he is the darling in the wings, I mean, they have to raise someone else from the Democratic Party that's laying in the ranks that people are not talking about. Every Democrat that you can talk about that has had a national name is on the losers list right now, regardless if they're the front runner. They're saying different front runners for the Democratic Party. I think they understand they have to raise up a new leader in those parties. Ossoff could be that, which is why we are possibly hearing that he may not run. But I think it's imperative that, you know, Governor Kemp runs and get that seat. I think that's we strip that seat. We're really in the driver's seat in Georgia. And again, these areas are important for us to, you know, sew up in Georgia. As many counties as we possibly can, as many congressional seats as we possibly can, U.S. Senate seats as we possibly can. We have to get it while the getting is good.
And another thing I think, and I mean, I'm just speculating and using my head on this, but Governor Kemp's waiting on what Trump will do.
Yeah.
And to be honest, any person that will get Trump's blessing for that primary will most likely win, unless if it's not Kemp. If Kemp doesn't get the blessing, it'll be between Kemp and whoever gets the blessing, and it will be I hope not, but probably a bloodbath.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's in just the primary.
Yeah.
And it's going to split the Republican Party. If that happens, and I think it's that whole situation. So again, please don't. This is only my professional opinion. It's only our opinion,
right? It's just my opinion. I'm not saying this is right. I'm just putting things in place and coming up with a synopsis for myself. So you put in your place, do your own research. But I think I actually had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about the Trump endorsement of Governor Kemp and this position, why they would do it, how it would work, this sort of thing, on top of all of the other information. Because let me say this, I was never a 2020 elections fraud I was never big on it. Like, I understood it was some things that was going on. I was never super big on the Dominion situation as much as it was going on. We also know at one point in time it was said that Kemp would possibly be running for president in 2028 also. It was said at one point in time. I thought that would be the more natural progression for Governor Kemp at that point. I think now that the Senate seat is now going to be what he's blessed with from the Trump administration because of what is going to transpire, I feel, from the 2020 election and everything being litigated, uncovered, this sort of thing and all of that. Now, I don't think it'll get to the point where a lot comes out. You know why? Because I feel like Kemp has to, quote unquote, in order to not die on this sword of what happened in the 2020 election, how bad he can look politically, he has to let the presidential aspirations go. And you have to be blessed in order to get this position from, to get over on Ossoff. President Trump has to endorse you. Mm-hmm. He has to. We know that he's the only person at this point in time that can clearly beat John Ossoff. So I think he has to take this approach, because if not, it'll be a lot of R&R going on versus each other here in Georgia. And that's something that we don't need. We do need to figure out what's going on in our elections, what happened, that sort of thing. But it wouldn't be good to publicly out each other at this point. Again, it can knock the steam. And so I feel like it was it's a strategic move. If Governor Kemp, again, he could go out on it. He can go out fighting. You feel what I'm saying? I wouldn't advise it, because, Trump up there guiding it. You know what I'm saying? But, I think it's one of them things where respectfully Kemp is going to, take this direction with the Senate seat. And I hope he gets it again.
Yeah, and I'm with you on the 2020 election. I mean, what I tell people, just remember what was happening. We had COVID.
Yep.
We had the riots going on, and people just didn't like what Trump was doing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, there was some weird things that was happening with our election.
Yep.
I think the state house ironed out a bunch of that.
Yeah.
And that's why we won all the 22 seats.
Right.
We won governor. We won lieutenant governor.
Right.
Stacey lost for a second time.
Yeah.
And I think Trump lost. I mean, in my head, Trump lost because people didn't vote. Republicans didn't go vote for him because self-consciously they couldn't.
Yep.
I did vote for Trump each time he was the Republican candidate. I voted for Trump. Mainly because I went and voted because my grandma's the election chairperson here in Monroe County, and she knew if I didn't vote.
Right.
But I can honestly see people in 2020 not going to go vote.
Yeah.
Because what was going on? They see riots on the on the news. They see COVID, but a lot of those things, I think, the state politicians saw that yes, there's something fishy going on with our election.
Absolutely.
And they fixed a lot of it.
Yeah.
And the Dominion machines, I mean, I'm not a big paper ballot fan just because my grandma told me what it was like with the paper ballots.
For sure.
I mean, you have somebody that just barely marks something, and then you have to trust those people working those elections to say, oh, this one's the one that needs to be fully marked.
Yeah.
And then you're just going to be mad at those people that are doing those things, because then you're going to accuse them of filling out or changing something on somebody's ballot. And that's why, I mean, technology's there, we have to use it.
Yeah. I think I just think it's we have to figure out a better way to use it. We can't get away from technology. We can't get away from AI, that sort of thing. But what we can do is sew up a better way to minimize the opportunity of, cyber attacks. Listen, we just had a whole bunch of cyber attacks over the last 4 years. I'm not trying to be funny, pumping fear, no, none of that. We've had so many breaches on our data and that sort of thing that I can't wholeheartedly be comfortable with electronics handling our votes, other things possibly, but our voting, because it can be hacked. Not to say that, again, if you go back to the paper ballots, then you have to deal with the same.
Yeah.
It's a catch-22, right?
Yeah. And the QR code, and I honestly get why people didn't like the QR codes, because say the printer messes up,
Right.
the ink messes up,
Right.
and it changes something on the QR code, and those things are so touchy
Yeah.
that it could actually really change something. And it's not, I mean, it's not somebody trying to maliciously
Right.
change somebody's vote. It's just
error.
Yeah, it's
System error.
Yeah.
System error. So I really feel like it's like a catch-22. Like, I wouldn't mind. This is my thing. I wouldn't mind going back to some version or trying some version of if it's not the paper, because again, like you said, a lot of cats, there are a lot of problems with that also. I'm cool with us finding a happy medium. What it
like
is,
punch cards or something.
yeah, something. What it is, I have no clue. But putting my whole trust in either operation at this point in time is hard. But I can say I would definitely feel more comfortable. I don't think I watched all my votes. I've had no votes on my cards ever switched or anything like that. But I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? I don't ever want it to happen. And not to say that going away from Dominion in this way right now will, give you 100% chance of not happening. But I just know it's Dominion specifically is a problem.
And now you're seeing, since Trump won, you're seeing Republicans that were for paper ballots. Now you're seeing Democrats for paper ballots.
Now they want paper ballots when they was a gun ho on Dominion and all the electronic ways of doing things. Yeah, I definitely see it. But we look. This is what I want to know. I know we probably finna wrap in a little bit, but what would you say? Now I'm gonna do a little interviewing. What would you say are like 2 or 3 issues here in the state of Georgia that the next Georgia administration, governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, it doesn't have to be including all of them, but what are 2 or 3 areas you feel like need to be, tackled?
Man, what I want to see truly is I want to see a switch to not having any state income tax.
I'm with that 100%.
And I think we need a governor that will push that. Yeah. And there's different things that they push every year. Like Governor Kemp's pushing lawsuit reform this year.
Yep.
Which I think is great, because I'm in the insurance business, right. And I've seen our rates go up 40% in the last 4 years I've worked there, and it is not fun when you start working with COVID rates, and then that's when I started in insurance, selling insurance, to now where it's literally gone up 40%. So you're paying $100 when I first started. Now you're paying $40 more for that car. Yeah. And a lot of people have 2, 3, 4 cars that's happened on. And every 6 months, their rates are going up.
Yes.
And you don't see anything go down. And insurance is not the same as it used to be.
Nah.
So I hope that gets done. If it doesn't, which I don't think it will not get done, but if it doesn't, I'd like to keep that issue going. And then just making sure, just keeping our elections secure.
For sure.
There's not really, like I said, I want to see the state income tax go down, which would most likely mean our sales tax go up.
But I wouldn't understand. I'm in agreement with you. I think we should eliminate the state income tax as a whole, with the surplus that our governor speaks on so very much. I think it doesn't have to be an increase in our sales taxes and this sort of thing, because we have this increase. I would also like something that's been on the table for a long period of time, and I think we're missing a great opportunity on it. I understand the argument of it, but I think it's time to legalize gambling, at least online gambling here. I think it's going to happen regardless. There is a
lot of my friends already do it.
Right. We already do it, and we're missing opportunity for the money here in the state of Georgia to continue to help push things like the Hope Scholarship and that sort of thing. Yeah. And I think that's something that we need to push. I definitely like the fact, like Burt Jones yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. They were emphasizing the cost of childcare at this point in time. Childcare, the expense is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Parents now are spending upwards of 40% of their paychecks on childcare in the state of Georgia.
That's my wife stays at home. I'm single income household,
So-
and that's saves us. If we went to where my foster sister goes, it saves us $250 a week.
Yes. So my wife and I, we had to, just adjusting financially also. And so at one point, probably like a year ago, man, we were paying $1,200 a month, almost $1,200 a month for our two youngest kids to go to daycare. And I'm just like, at what point did it get this expensive? So we're calling around, trying to find rates. All of the rates are crazy. So I think that's important because childcare and the ability to pay for that, again, you're spending upwards of 40% of your paychecks just on childcare.
Yeah, and that's 4 years.
4 years. Like, so, that's important.
That hurts your retirement.
What? Big time.
That hurts.
Big time.
That hurts. I mean, it's hard being a single income.
Man, it is very, very hard. And what was that other thing?
And another thing with that though, and I'm not my wife, I love my wife being at home, but if we had to spend $1,000 a month, and she goes and works, and she gets $1,000 or $1,500, it's worth way more to me to have her here raising those children,
Raising your kids
for 4 years, rather than them going to the daycare. So I would gladly accept every day my wife staying here and me just going and working my butt off at work.
Yeah. It's a great situation when you can have it, man, just like that. We definitely wanted to make those moves because of those reasons, man. So that's one of those things. I think the next, governor has to have a bigger emphasis on our prison reform, our jail reforms. We're having a lot of issues here in our jail reform, unfortunately. And again, I'm an open book. I could care less about a person's personal opinion of Terence Fowler at all, right? Like, I really don't, which is why I'm not a front-facing person.
Hey, that hit home to me because I had a family member incarcerated, recently just got out.
Yeah.
And the horror story, I don't hear the horror stories because honestly, I'm scared to ask because
Absolutely.
It's like going to war.
Absolutely, it is.
They go to the Jackson Correctional Facility, and those places are ran by the inmates.
Yes.
And it's not because that the people that work there, they just don't have enough.
Yeah, definitely the workforce is
And
down.
I'm not going to go work. I'm not going to go work in a prison.
Unsafe.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to go work in a prison for $30,000 a year.
Right. You're right. It's too unsafe. and again, these situations with these jails and prisons here in Georgia are ridiculous. And again, I was finna say, like, I'm super transparent, right? So I was unlawfully detained like December, right after Thanksgiving, by county. I'm cool with putting on blast. Troup County, LaGrange, it's terrible. The jail is terrible. First of all, when I say I was unlawfully detained, when you falsify records, you add charges to a speeding ticket. I had a speeding ticket. Where, of course, like, again, I'm super transparent, so I'm going to tell you, I'm doing 88 in the 70 in LaGrange. And got the speeding ticket. I felt it was a super speeder ticket. This was like October. Got the ticket. And so I knew once the date hit, I think I knew I was going to miss the date to pay the ticket on time. So, again, that goes to your license may get suspended, yada, yada, yada. I had got another speeding ticket, and I'm not a speeding person. I know this sounds crazy. It's been years and years since I had speeding tickets, but I had another speeding ticket the month before in September. in Alabama. And so I knew that ticket was coming up first. Called, got the amount, where I could pay it, boom. At that point, that ticket had suspended my license because it had went faster than I knew. But I knew the process. You pay the ticket, they give you the release form, go get it.
Yeah.
The ticket in Troup County hadn't come up yet, but I was going to go ahead and pay it, get it out of the way so I wouldn't have any suspensions. Called Troup County and said, how much is the ticket? $200 is all the ticket was. I'm like, oh, I thought that was a super speeder. But she was like, but you can't pay your ticket. You have to see the solicitor before you can pay the ticket. So I'm like, all right, because it was a super speeder. I'm like, all right, it was a super speeder. She didn't say because it was a super speeder. I was assuming. But she was like, you can't pay it because you got to see the solicitor or the judge before you can pay it. But we'll TBN you to be notified. This was March 12th of 2024. March 13th, since they said I didn't have a pending suspension for that speeding ticket, I got the release from Alabama, went and got my license back. They were suspended for like a month. March 14th. Day after Thanksgiving this year, I'm riding. The guy pulled me over talking about some hands-free craziness. Anyway, he tells me I have a failure to appear warrant in Troup County. I'm like, for a speeding ticket? Now, they told me to be TBN, to be announced. I called them twice after that call to get a date. They said, we haven't forgot you. We'll notify you when your court date is or when you can see them. Didn't hear anything. They take me in Douglasville. That was where I got stopped in Douglasville the night after Thanksgiving. They take me to Douglasville, and I'm in Douglasville. And I'm like, so it's the night after Thanksgiving. So you're going to stay in jail all weekend. It's Thanksgiving weekend. You're not seeing the judge until Monday. So I'm like, dog, for a speeding ticket? I'm like, all right, cool. If I stay in here the weekend, they got to let me out here Monday because it's time served. It was a $200 ticket.
Yeah.
Man, Monday morning they come in the cell to let me out at 5:45. I'm thinking I'm finna go home because I promise you I done had a hell of a fire weekend. I don't like jail, no none of that. So I'm like, bet, go down. They taking me back to book and giving me my stuff, man. I see a sergeant come and put some shackles on the thing. I'm like, Troup County came and got me. So I'm like, for a speeding ticket? So I'm still not understanding because I know the law. I know, especially by traffic law. I know this. I'm like, man, what's going on? So she said, nah, so I get in the car with her and I'm like, so you think I'm gonna see it? It's 5:45 in the morning. So I know you get transported early so you can make your first appearances when the court's open. So I'm like, you think I'll see the judge today? She was like, nah, I don't think you're gonna see the judge till Thursday or Friday. I'm like, what? Bro, I done stayed in jail from Friday to Monday in Douglas. Y'all transfer me to Troup County. Anyway, get to Troup County, bro. I'm walking in Oz. I don't know if y'all ever seen Oz on HBO back in the day. I'm walking in Troup County. It's Oz immediately. I get there at like 6:45 in the morning. They don't book me until after 10 o'clock that night. The first shift don't say nothing to me. When I tell you, Rule, the facility, disgusting. The conditions for the inmates, deplorable. It is inhumane. The things that, anyway, 10 o'clock comes up, the officer that.
And this is just jail.
This just jail. We ain't even talking about prison.
I mean, this is jail. Where they take people that are
Troup County jail.
Can be found not guilty.
Not guilty. So 10 o'clock come, the booking officer finally get me up there. He said, I don't know why they didn't book you, whatever. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm like, I'm trying to figure out. He showed me my booking paperwork. They have added driving on a suspended license to my ticket. That's not the ticket that I got.
Yeah.
If you had a suspended license, I'm going 18 over the speed limit. I got an 88 and a 70. I just got a ticket. Rode on to Albany where I was headed to. If my license were suspended, most likely you going to jail. Driving on a suspended license, plus I'm 18, you're going to jail. I did not get a driving on a suspended license ticket because my license was active. So I saw it was driving on a suspended license, which infers you have to appear before a judge when you drive on a suspended license.
Yeah.
So now I'm knowing why. I'm like, man, it's crazy. I end up staying in Troup County for 12 days on a falsified charge because I didn't get a ticket for driving on a suspended license. That was falsified. I got arrested for it, lost 13 days. The conditions, ridiculous.
This was last year?
This was December. This was Thanksgiving that just passed. I was in jail for 13 days unlawfully in Troup County.
So you
Bro,
get to the judge and you see what? And what's he say?
So let me say. So I had to get a paid attorney to get this handled, right? But in Troup County, when I got there, they was telling me when I got on the block. First of all, let me tell you, they gave me a mat just like we used to sleep on in elementary school.
Yeah.
The little foam. I slept on that mat and on the floor, just like this concrete floor in here. I slept on that mat, concrete floor with the little blanket that they give you, no pillow, for 10 days on the floor. Terrible conditions. Did not have a change of clothes. They're supposed to give you multiple uniforms in that situation. Didn't have it. They didn't put me in the system so I could get or buy things in time. The conditions of that is crazy.
Are they overcrowded?
What? I was just finna get to that. We have a tier. The tier that I was on, you're supposed to have 16 max on that tier. It's almost 30 of us on that tier. So everybody sleeping on the fire. Like, I'm sleeping on the wall right here. He's sleeping on the wall right here. Cats upstairs in the tier, sleeping on the floor by the wall. It's crazy. Inhumane and everything. But, you know, those Troup County, those conditions, Douglasville, the conditions, like, they care less about inmates. And once you get behind those walls, you know, it's just like you have no rights. And your rights don't supposed to stop because you're in jail. Do your time. If you did something, go do your time. But there's still supposed to be rights and standards for inmates. And at both jails, Douglas County and Troup County, to be more specifically, like, it was a lot of deplorable stuff going on. Like, I'm going to see fit that some of these things be, you know, fixed. Like, you got complaints from Fulton County, Rice Street, conditions, Clayton County, where they got sewage coming through and leaking through. Like, these are conditions that you have these people in here. The jail should be, you know, held accountable for everything that they're doing. But these are things that people are not talking about, because you're talking about some inmates that have committed crimes and they're doing their time, so they just should be left in there. Me personally, I knew those 13 days in jail, how unlawful they were. However unlawful they were, it wasn't about me. It was about me seeing and experiencing the things that they experienced on an everyday basis and getting back out here and try to do something to help, you know, with jail and prison reform and the conditions of inmates inside. So that's something I'm definitely working on.
And like I said, jail's a place where you go and you may not be guilty. You may not be found guilty when you go to trial.
Yep.
And you don't only have just regular people.
Nope.
Like you have mentally ill patients.
Absolutely.
And our sheriff here in Monroe County is having a hard time because they don't have enough holding cells. I think they have 3, and you separate men and women.
Right.
You have a mental patient
Right.
in one, and then you get another mental patient. What you
gonna do?
You're going to stick them with the other males or other females, whatever.
The hard, man.
Comes in.
It is hard, and I, like I said, I really want to, you know, I really want to work on that, man. What ended up happening for me to get out, my lawyer finally came through, and it was all about getting in front of a judge. My God, you had so many cats on that tier that had been there for simple crimes, should have been released, but they weren't able to get an appearance in front of the judge. Their public defenders, because they couldn't afford lawyers, weren't getting them in front of the judges, and all they needed were bond hearings. You feel what I'm saying? Pre-trial bond hearings. Some of them just need to have the time served hearings to get out. They're sitting there for 10 months. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's cats in there that's been there for 2 years that are on small charges that should have been adjudicated a long time ago, but they can't get in front of the judge for the judge to say, yes, you can bond out. And that's all they have to do. And they're sitting there just waiting, don't know when. These cats really was in there like, you know, at some point in time, real soon, you going home. With us, we know we going home too at some point in time, but we just don't know when. Because they'll sit in there and tell you going to court tomorrow, and they'll come around, and out of all of this big 1,500 inmate jail, get 4 people and take them to court. And
what I think about in your case, you're in there for 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks. You're away from your wife and kids.
Man,
That would infuriate me. And I understand why you're upset.
Shoot, yeah, man. Like I literally, again, if
For a speeding ticket.
For a speeding ticket that I tried to pay. I'm not trying to get out of my responsibility. I've tried to pay this on numerous occasions, and now I'm in. It was a terrible 2 weeks. It really put me and my family in a very uncomfortable position because, you know, of course it wasn't planned for, but for it to be strung out so long because systems and the people in these systems not being thorough and they just being, listen, I'm in there. Like I told you, I got there at 6:40 a.m. I didn't speak because I'm just looking at the surroundings. I didn't say or ask the officers at the booking station anything until 11 o'clock. And when I did, I put my hands up like this and said, excuse me. That's my thing. My best friend get me all the time. Softly, excuse me, because I know all these other people around me yelling at them. Some people cussing at them out there. They got this person. It's a lot going on. Yeah. So I'm trying to be as respectful as possible from 11 a.m. when I finally said something to them to ask them what's going on till they got off at 7. These cats never told me anything. They were rude.
For a speeding ticket.
So yeah. So again, end up like I said, standing there all them days, man, and my lawyer ended up getting me out. But that was why I was, I'm energized about trying to, work on the jail and prison reform and that sort of thing.
So was your license suspended?
Nope. So I thought this is why I thought it would be kind of a quick situation because I'm like, my license weren't suspended. You can go and verify that with the Georgia's driver's history. Like they'll tell you, they'll show you.
You can log in yourself.
So you can log in. I do that. Listen, that's the thing. I don't get tickets, but I started when DDS first put out this app years and years ago. I downloaded it because at that time I was getting a couple speeding tickets, a few suspensions, and that sort of thing. But I promise you, this has been over 15 years ago. I literally check my license all the time. I know I don't have no tickets, but I just like to go on the DDS app, put it in, and it say active in green up there. Yeah. So I was like, man, y'all could go and verify that my license wasn't suspended. This should be simple. This is Tuesday, right? Like I've been in jail, Douglas County, Friday till Monday. Now I'm in Troup County. Tuesday, I'm like, this gotta be something fast.
Yeah.
I ain't get out till the next Wednesday because, and again, they falsified government records because they put on there that I had driving on suspended license and I didn't. Yeah. I had the original ticket that I had that, gave that to my attorney. I had the original ticket that didn't have that on there. And so they end up having to drop everything. I did not have to pay anything, but it cost me 13 days in jail.
Yeah.
And a lot of other things outside.
And that's more valuable than
very, very valuable.
Being away from family.
Very valuable. My wife, man, trooper. She's strong, held it down. We have 3 little ones, 1, 3, and 5. She held it down, being busy, and we not having a real support system in Atlanta to help on a day-to-day basis. And her being in the profession that she is, it was very strenuous for her. Shout out to my mom, my mom and pops for, looking out and everything. But it was bad. And like I said, it wasn't for me. The experience wasn't for me. It was for me to see what other cats are in there going through. And it's not about if they're innocent or guilty. It's about, they're still human beings and deserve certain rights and standards regardless of where they are.
Yeah.
So
I was telling you, one of my family members was incarcerated. He was in prison, and I mean, he was on parole, and he got in trouble again, and they made him serve the rest of his sentence that he had gotten 10 years, served 10 years, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he finally that's gone. They put him back in prison. But he was telling me that in prison, they have different cells or blocks. Mm-hmm. But in Georgia, he had people in his block that were not supposed to be in his block. And he said they called them refugees because they
Yes.
came from
Yes.
a different block.
Yes.
And it's just because we don't have enough.
Yeah, they're definitely overcrowded here in Georgia, and they're getting away with this type of these types of atrocities because, again, you have, and I don't know if people understand how serious like staph infection is and that sort of thing, and you know the different bacteria that's going on. Like I can't really describe how deplorable the conditions were, but they were bad.
One of my biggest donors, this was even started in the primary. He sat down, we talked, and he knew my family. He's an older guy, had a bunch of money, and he wanted to talk about the prisons because he had a friend that he was in the banking business with. He got in trouble, got caught, but his friend would tell him what prison was like, and it helped him realize. And this is a man that has a lot of money that never has to worry about prison.
Right.
But he gets a first-hand witness into that with his friend, and his friend tells him about it. And I mean, he wouldn't have known about it.
Not at all.
He wouldn't be concerned about what our prison system is like.
Yep.
I have another you can call him friend. He was a mixed guy. Mom's white, dad's black. And down in Statesboro, him and his white girlfriend were out, went to go eat, and some high school students were calling them names and saying very inappropriate things to them at 2:00 in the morning, and nothing good happens at 2:00 in the morning.
Nothing.
But they followed him and started trying to run him off the road, and in self-defense, he shot at the truck in self-defense.
Right.
And ended up killing a girl in the back seat. And this struck that community, a small town Georgia community, and a mixed guy shot a gun into the back of a F-150. Doesn't matter. Apparently, doesn't matter what the high schoolers were doing, but they sentenced him to prison, and he's in prison. He's actually right here in Monroe County at the prison. And he's I think he's 3 to 4 years younger than me. And this kid he comes from a really good family. He didn't get in trouble. He played high school football. I mean, he was in college, doing what a normal college kid should do. And one bad night. And I mean, I honestly, I think he'd win. They're still doing the appeal process.
Should win.
But you're in one of those small towns in
do
South
what they
Georgia.
want to do. Just like Troup County.
Yeah.
Troup County did exactly what they wanted to do. I got a vendetta out for Troup County because they did me dirty. They doing cats dirty left and right. And again, I'm a cat that, I take responsibility. If I do something, then I'm cool with paying the price, whatever that price or that cost was of doing what I decided to do. I know that from the beginning, and I'm cool with dealing with it. But in this case, I was unlawfully detained for almost 2 weeks for them, the system, falsifying records on me. And then on top of that, the conditions in which I had to deal with this, that, and the third for these 2 weeks is ridiculous. Even to the point where, like I said, when you go in jail, they're supposed to give you 2 outfits, 2 jumpers, that sort of thing. Of course, so you can wash however you decide to wash, or change out or whatever. Never was able to get that every single day for 7 days straight, every single shift, every single officer that I could ask. I requested that stuff didn't happen. The meals, oh my God, the meals that they're feeding these grown men in jail is just deplorable. It's ridiculous, and they make too much money in these jails, and too much money is sent to the prison and jail systems in all around the country for conditions to be like they are. and it was ridiculous. Douglas County, that weekend was the first cold weekend of the year of the winter last year, and
Yeah.
the day after Thanksgiving. So they have a open, it's just caged open day room that's connected to the block. So all the cold air is coming into this room. There's no way to block it because there's no window. They have a gate up there, like this whole room having a gate on the ceiling. That's how, and so it's the coldest. In Douglas County, when you get out of the bed at 8:30, you cannot get back under your covers until lights out that night, regardless of how cold it is or anything. You cannot carry around your cover or anything. And they, on top of that, had the air on at about 62 degrees, 60 to 62 degrees. That's blowing in your cell at night, and you're freezing. You only have a little piece of spread and that sort of thing. During the daytime, when you're walking around the tier and it's freezing cold in there, you're not allowed, or you'll get in trouble, to get up under your covers, take your covers off of your bed, wrap up in your covers or anything. What they will allow you to do is take that other jumpsuit, because they give you 2 jumpsuits, and wrap that around you, and you walk around with that jumpsuit wrapped around you, which is not warming you at all.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, these are things just inhumane. People are sick in there because of these reasons. The conditions are just ridiculous, and I think it's important that we try to shine light on what's going on.
Yeah, but our federal government's sending condoms to Gaza.
Yeah, but we got money to send condoms to Gaza, and produce a Sesame Street in Afghanistan to show. And listen, man, cut it out. I'm cool with all the cuts. I don't know about you. I'm cool with the Department of Education being cut. I'm cool with all of this. Because at this point in time, you look at our kids, and let's just deal in Georgia specifically. Our education system here is terrible. When we go in Albany, Georgia, and other smaller cities, you're looking at the reading and proficiency rate being under, in single digits. Mm-hmm. You're looking at us graduating. Social promotion has killed our school systems, and it's in turn killed our younger generation that's supposed to be future leaders. Mm-hmm. This generation right now that is coming through high school now. I have 6 kids from ages 20 to 2. And so, I see and experience a lot. The learning curve in this generation is crazy. Mm-hmm. They're not teaching them how to read. They're not reading on a 3rd grade level. Their reading skills suck. Their math skills sucks. But social promotion is pushing them through every single year. And I always tell people, you wonder why you see our city, the city of Albany at that time, in the position that we're in, because the school system is failing our children. Mm. And so I'm always down for us to try to, do something different. It hadn't been working ever since they established the Department of Education back in the 70s. It hasn't done exactly what it's been able to do. We spend more money per pupil in this country more than any other country, and the results are deplorable. It's absolutely deplorable. Yeah. So I think it's important for us to do things like this. And plus, we're spending money in areas where we don't need to spend money.
Yeah.
So that's just the bottom line. Sew it up and get let.
And it's for me, it's not just about cutting the money.
Right.
But using it
where it needs
for
to go.
America.
For America.
For Americans.
America first, baby.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be about. So I'm cool with everything. Like I said, we talked about collateral damage earlier, the USAID situation and all the fundings and that sort of thing that's happening. I was talking to an after-school program director at a school a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, "So, you see your dude gonna stop our funds. We ain't gonna get paid." I was like, y'all gonna get paid. She was like, nah, see, she showed me an email that the payment is gonna be delayed. Well, it's gonna be delayed. It ain't gonna be stopped. I understand that it trust me. I am not, taking light that the payments that people pay their bills with are going to be delayed. I totally understand.
Yeah.
But when we look at things from an America first perspective on a presidential level, this is a necessity. We have to cut everything off now so we can get control of it. These things will be paid and picked back up, things that are, where they need to be or placed in a position where they can be taken care of better. So, you know, it's hard, right? It could be hard and it may be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. It's necessary.
Well, Terrence, it's been really great talking to you.
Man,
It is 11:13, and
We've been
you got to
rolling.
get. I know you got to get.
Yeah, got to
Are
hit the
you
road too.
Are you going back home tonight?
Yeah,
or-
man, we're gonna go ahead and push it back to East Point, man. We got some things to do in the morning, and so we're gonna go ahead and push it back tonight. You know, good thing about it, the little ones and wife, they'll probably be asleep on the way back. My wife, she don't usually go to sleep like that, but I think she probably will tonight.
Well, drive safe, and I appreciate you being on here.
Hey, man, I
and
appreciate
we'll
you having
definitely be talking more.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it's in Donnie2time.com.
Done it2times.com, man.
Get
y'all
a belt.
Y'all go, go follow me on Twitter.
That's
also,
another thing I want to talk. I should ask you about, and I'll take another 5 minutes on
for
this.
sure.
Trump has been the most marketed president
Ever.
ever. And will we have another president that will be able to market as well as Trump?
Shoot, if we are, it won't be for another few years.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be some years. Like the last time we had a marketable president on this level, like again, this never happened on this level. You know, I think a lot of people would say that Barack Obama was on this level. I think he was at that time, but this has far surpassed what that was. Not that I'm belittling that at all, but I mean, Trump is on, another level, and I think it's gonna only get bigger because once people start really seeing how things settle in the next year or two, I think it's gonna even get crazy. But
Well,
he's
Donnie2time.com.
done it 2 times.
Get a belt.
Please hit me
Get
up.
shirts, get hoodies, get sweaters.
Yep. And y'all go follow me on Twitter, man. Big picture guy, man. As you know, I'm a big picture guy, man. I look at things from a wider perspective, man, and I like to get to the end game. Anybody in the party want to work, let's work, man. Y'all got candidates that's gonna run. Let's consult together. Let's try to get a winning strategy together. Anybody that want to do some works, have me come out in your area just to converse. Let's do it. I'm with it.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Terrence.
Thank you, brother.
You have a good night.
You too,
Drive
brother.
safe.
Thank you.